And the title of today's notes is Baseball. The title of our unit that we will be covering this week is Baseball. So make sure at the top you have the title of this chapter and then today's date, September 22nd, 2020. Yes? It is a common noun, correct. But we know we capitalize common nouns if they are at the beginning of the sentence or if they are a title. In this case, baseball is a common noun, but it's the title of our notes. So we're going to capitalize baseball. We're going to learn more about capitalizing titles, but for now, all you need to know is if you're writing the title of a book, movie, magazine, whatever, or the title of notes, you do capitalize. Also, if it's at the beginning of a sentence, you would capitalize a common noun. So baseball, yes, good. I like how you're thinking about things we've already covered. So good job. Now, before we get into the vocabulary, we're going to talk about our skill for this week. The skill that we're going to be working on, like the skill that's going to help us when we read, is, so put your little circle, your little dot by the pink line, and then start right next to the pink line, and we're talking about author's purpose. Author's purpose. That is the skill that we are working on this week. Author's purpose is the reason the author is writing. So the author's purpose answers the question, why is this author writing this piece? Whether it's a story or it's an article or whatever. The author's purpose is the purpose the author has in writing it. Why are they doing it? Knowing the author's purpose for writing can help us make inferences. It can help us make those educated guesses about why things are happening or what could happen because of what we're reading. So there are three purposes that an author would write. There are three reasons an author writes a story. The first is to inform. The first reason an author would write is to inform. Which means they're trying to teach us something. They are trying to teach us something that we may not know yet. If an author's purpose is to inform, it means they're trying to teach us about something. They will use, or they will provide facts. If an author's purpose is to inform, it means they're trying to teach us something, so they're going to provide facts. They're going to give us facts about something. So we'll say provide facts about something. So like our social studies book. That would be an example of something that is written to inform. So let's put some examples. Okay, so here's some examples of things that are written to inform. Textbooks. We use textbooks to learn new things. So of course, the authors have written them to inform us. Newspapers. Newspapers are written to inform us. Most news articles are written to inform us about what's going on in the world. Cookbooks. Cookbooks are written to tell us, to inform us how to make new dishes. And the last one, non-fiction stories. So things like biographies and things like that. Sometimes they're also written to do something else, but they're usually the author's main purpose is to inform about something. So remember, one example of author's purpose is to inform. That means they want to teach us something. They'll provide facts about the topic. Examples of things written to inform are textbooks, newspapers, cookbooks, and nonfiction stories. Remember, nonfiction means it's not made up. Yes?
And most of those words are compound words.
They are. Yes, you are correct. Textbooks, text and books. Newspapers, news and papers. Cookbooks, cook and book. Good. Yes, those are compound words. Good eye. Okay, the next reason an author may write something is to entertain. To entertain. When an author is writing to entertain us, they want to, let's see. They want to try to make us enjoy something. So they are really just writing it so that we'll enjoy it. So if an author's purpose is to entertain, they're writing it just so that we can learn, we can enjoy it. They're not trying to teach us something or anything else. They just want us to enjoy what they're writing. You can tell that an author's purpose is to entertain because it will usually include humor and or exciting action. So if what you're reading has a lot of humor and or exciting action, that means it might have humor and exciting action, or it might just be funny, or just a lot of action. That's how you can tell the author's purpose was probably to entertain. If you see a lot of facts, the purpose was probably to inform. If you see a lot of humor or action, guys, hands down while I'm speaking. When your hand is up, you are not listening to what is being said. You are thinking about what you want to say. You will have time unless there really isn't any reason for you to be raising your hand. If it's a story or a comment, then it really needs to wait, and we may not get to it. If it is an emergency, well, I will be able to tell by looking at you that it is an emergency. But if it is a question or a comment that you just have that's not super important, you need to wait, and you need to realize that we may not get to it. Okay, so if you're reading a story and there's a lot of humor or there's a lot of exciting action, it was probably written to entertain. For example, some examples of things that were written to entertain. Fairy tales, comic books, fantasy stories, and most fiction. Remember, fiction means it was made up. So if an author's purpose is to entertain, all they're trying to do is get us to enjoy the story. They'll usually include humor or exciting action, or sometimes both. And some examples of things that were written to entertain us are fairy tales, comic books, fantasy stories, and most fiction. Can I erase number 1 so that I can fit it? Can I erase number 1? Because otherwise it'll be hard to see. Okay, so the third reason that authors write is to persuade. This is the word persuade. P-E-R-S-U-A-D-E is the word persuade. And the reason an author would write to persuade is to try to get you to do, try, or feel something. So if an author's purpose is to persuade, they are trying to get you to do something, they're trying to get you to try something, or they're trying to get you to feel something. When you are reading, the author, if the purpose is to persuade, they're going to try to convince you of something. As you're reading, if you can tell that the author is trying to convince you of something, then you know the purpose is to persuade. What does the word convince mean? Who knows what the word convince means? Zari? What does the word convince mean?
Try to get you to do something.
They're trying to get you to do something or feel something or whatever. So convince and persuade are synonyms. That means they both mean the same thing. They're both trying to get you to do something, try something, or feel something. So if as you're reading, you're like, I feel like this author wants me to believe what they're talking about. Like they're trying to get me to believe their side of things. Or they're trying to get me to buy something. Or they're trying to get me to do something for others. Then that tells you that the author's purpose is to persuade. Some examples of things written to persuade are movie and book reviews. So you know how sometimes before you see a movie you want to hear what somebody else says about it? So you might read about it, or maybe your parents will read about it before they decide. That's written to persuade. A person who writes these reviews writes them so that they can get you to either see the movie or read the book, or to try to get you not to see the movie or not to see the book. So they're going to tell you their opinion on things, which means opinions are something else that is written to persuade. So in the newspaper, there's like an opinion column where people get to send in what they think and what they think people should do or people should feel. So if you see a lot of opinions in something, remember opinions are things that are not true for everybody. Opinions are things that somebody feels that not everybody necessarily may feel or even has to feel. Another thing, commercials. Commercials are written in order to sell you something, or to get you to watch something, or to get you to read something. Billboards are included in that because a billboard tries to get you, hey, go to this restaurant, hey, go to this store, hey, go to this gas station. So those are examples of things that are written to persuade. Yes, Victoria.
Also, humans can persuade.
What?
Also, humans can persuade.
Well, yes, humans do all of these things. Humans do all of these things because an author is a human, right?
That's what they write down.
Well, but an author also does that to entertain. But I'm talking about things that are written to do this. Not people do all of this because an author is a person. So authors write. So the three things that we will be looking at is this author writing to inform? Are they writing to teach us something? Are they using lots of facts? That would mean that the author's purpose is to inform. Or is the author's purpose to entertain? Are they just trying to make us enjoy something? Are they including things like humor and exciting action? That would mean that they're writing to entertain. Or are they writing us to try to persuade us of something? Are they trying to get us to do, try, or feel something? Are they trying to convince us that something is true or not true? Or that something is good or bad? Are they using a lot of opinions? So does everybody kind of understand author's purpose? Okay, well what I'm going to do now is this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start vocabulary. You may skip a line, whatever, just stay on the same page. And then go ahead and write a number 1 all the way by the pink line for word number 1. Okay, I'm going to erase the author's purpose notes. And then we will start on vocabulary. If you see, Zadie, if you see Coach J, just give me a silent sign, like wave at me or something. You don't need to say Coach J is here, and I only need Zadie to do it. Okay? Okay. So now we're going to start vocabulary. If you want to, you can kind of do like vocabulary on just a line and then underline it. Make sure it's capital because it is the title of this part. And then right underneath it, all the way by the pink line, you can put number 1, which is the word legendary. 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 Legendary is an adjective. It's a describing word. Oh, and let's see. Ethan and Michaela, these are your words today. Ethan, you're going to do the first 4. So put a star next to number 1 because that's one of your words. Make sure you're spelling all of these words correctly. If you cannot see how a word is spelled, raise your hand and I will tell you really quick. If you have anything else to say or questions, unless it's an emergency, please wait till the end. So raise your hand only in emergencies or because you cannot tell how a word is spelled. A word in the definition or a vocabulary word. Okay, so our first word is legendary. It is an adjective, which means it's a describing word. And it is something, it means that something has been passed down for years and has some basis in fact. So legendary is something, it's a story, not an object. It's not an object. So legendary is something that has been passed down for years and has some basis in fact. This is when we would be talking about a story. This is not an object. So it's not like a necklace or something that has been passed down through your family for years. Because can a necklace have some basis in fact? No. But this is more like a story. Because stories can have basis in fact. That means that they are based on things that actually happened. Basis, you hear the base word base. So that means they are based in fact. They came from something that is true. Here's the word in context. Stories about the Vikings are legendary because they are often part fact and part fiction. Remember, fiction means it's made up. Fact means it's true. Nobody can deny it. It is true. If they do deny it, they're wrong. Okay, number 2. Oh, when you are doing your vocabulary homework and you are writing sentences, you need to make sure that you're using them in the same way. So you can't write a story, you can't write a sentence about a legend, which is a story. You need to use legendary to describe that story. Make sure if you are writing your own sentences that you are using the word in the same way, not as a different part of speech, otherwise you're going to get counted off and I will write that. So number 2 is the word mutter. M-U-T-T-E-R. Mutter. Mutter is a verb. We would say it, even though it has 2 T's, we would say that more as a D sound, mutter, rather than mutter. We normally say it more as a D sound, mutter. You might see it in past tense in the story, which means we would just add ed to the end. So instead of mutter, it would be muttered, muttered. So it is a verb, and it means to speak in a low, unclear way with your mouth partially closed. Mutter. M-U-T-T-E-R. It is a verb. It means to speak in a low, unclear way with your mouth partially closed. So not all the way closed. Partially means a little bit. You see the base word part in partially, so that means it's just part, not completely. Yes, Kingston. Partially is spelled P-A-R-T-I-A-L-L-Y. Ethan, I'm sorry, this is one of your words too, so make sure you put a little star next to mutter. Zadie, can you just look out in the hall really quick and check? Really, yeah, go ahead. Number 3. Oh, I'm sorry, in context. Okay, let's finish this. So keep listening. Finish this definition, number 2. And in context. Abby's mouth was shut, so I didn't hear what she muttered. In that sentence in context, we heard it in past tense. So when you're done with mutter, M-U-T-T-E-R, which is a verb, it means to speak in a low, unclear way with your mouth partially closed. Go ahead and leave everything where it is. Stand up, push your chair in. Make sure you... Number 3 is gape. G-A-P-E. Gape. It is a verb, so it's an action, like mutter. The E makes that A a long A sound, so we say it like gape. And it means to stare with your mouth open wide in surprise or wonder. So gape, G-A-P-E, is a verb, and it means to stare with your mouth open wide in surprise or wonder. Yes, Michaela?
Which ones are my words?
What?
Have we got to my words yet?
No, we have not. In context, we might hear it in the past tense, which means we just add an ed or a d sound to the end. So in concept, Sandra gaped in wonder as the large shark swam past her. So make sure if you have to write sentences with these words that you're using it as a verb, as something that you or somebody else did. And make sure if you have to write sentences that you're including enough information to show that you know what the word means. Yes, Carla, that emoji is an example of gaping, as long as you do it in surprise or wonder. Okay, let's see. I'm going to erase numbers 1, 2, and 3. Well, let's see. Is 4. No, I do need to. Okay, number 4 is the word snicker. Snicker. S-N-I-C-K-E-R. Snicker. It is another verb. So it's another action. And it means to laugh in a disrespectful way. Snicker is a verb. It means to laugh in a disrespectful way. Yes, Cullen?
How do you spell disrespectful?
D-I-S-R-E-S-P-E-C-T-F-U-L. Disrespectful. So snicker is a verb. It means to laugh in a disrespectful way. Sometimes we may hear it in the story or in context in a different way. Like maybe they're saying it in the past and adding ed. Maybe they're using it in the present and adding either ing or s. So here it is in context. After Kim slipped on ice, she heard people snickering as she tried to get up. So that they're using it in the present tense. Sometimes we have to add ing to do that. Okay, number 5. Michaela, this is your word. One of your words. This is your first word. So number 5 is the word insult. Insult. I-N-S-U-L-T. Insult. It is a noun. That means it's a person, place, thing, or idea. In this case, it's an idea. It's not a thing we can see, but we can hear it if somebody says it. So it's an abstract noun. An insult is a remark or action that hurts someone's feelings or pride. So insult, I-N-S-U-L-T, is a noun. It is a thing, or it's an idea. Well, it's a thing, but it's abstract because we can't see it or feel it. And it is a remark or action that hurts someone's feelings or pride. Now, in context, sometimes with nouns, we may see them as plural or singular, which means we might add an S in the story if it is plural. When the boys selected Steve last for the team, it felt like an insult. Insult. Okay, number 6. Michaela, this is also yours. Number 6 is fluke. Fluke. F-L-U-K-E. Fluke. That E at the end makes that U sound like long U, but sometimes long U doesn't smell like U. It doesn't sound like U, it sounds like ooh. So it's not a fluke. It's a fluke. Fluke. Ooh, ooh. So long E can either sound like U or ooh. In this case, it sounds like ooh. Fluke is another noun. Again, it's a thing, but it's not, we can't see it or touch it or feel it. So it is an abstract noun, but it is a thing. And it is a chance happening, or accidental turn of events. So in other words, a fluke is something that happened that wasn't supposed to happen. It happened, but it really wasn't supposed to happen, either because there was no chance it would happen, but it did, or because it wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. So in context, again, this is a noun, so sometimes in the story or in context, we might make it plural, which means we would just add an S or a S sound to the end. Snowfall once in June is an unusual turn of events, but twice is a fluke. So it's even more than just unusual or unexpected. It's like, this should not have happened, but it did. Like snowing in June, that would be really, really weird.
Or like in April in the Mississippi River.
Or like the Mississippi River flooding once in a year. That would be really weird. But if it happened again, then it would be a fluke. It would be like, this is not supposed to happen, but it did. Okay, last word. Michaela, it's yours. Is the word flinch. F-L-I-N-C-H. Flinch. F-L-I-N-C-H. Flinch is a verb. That means it's an action. And it means to draw back quickly. Oops, I spelled that wrong. To draw back quickly. Out of fear or unpleasant surprise. So to flinch, F-L-I-N-C-H, is a verb. It means to draw back quickly out of fear or unpleasant surprise. So it's not a good surprise that's making you flinch. It's a bad surprise. So in context, it's a verb. So sometimes we may hear it with an S sound at the end or an ing sound. Both of those means it's happening in the present. Or we might hear it with an ed sound at the end, or duh, which means it's happening in the past. Jared flinched because he saw his mother enter the principal's office. Usually that wouldn't be a good thing, so it would be an unpleasant surprise. So he's going like, you see, I'm drawing back quickly. That's flinching. Or sometimes we think that somebody's going to hit us even though they've never hit us before, and we go, they just move quickly and we think they're going to hit me even though we know they're not. Here, how many please stop? Okay, everybody should have their reading textbooks out and open to page 148. Your vocabulary notebooks can be put away. But make sure your reading textbooks are out and open. Smith, if it's possible, if you can kind of tilt your screen so that I can see you and what you're working on. There you go, perfect. Okay, so we're open to page 148. The title of this chapter is Baseball. So all of these stories are going to have a baseball theme. So while I'm going to read the talk about it, and while I read the talk about it, you should be thinking about your answer to this question. Okay. What do you think is happening in this picture? What do you think will happen next? So what you're doing when you answer those questions is you are making inferences. Remember, I've talked about this. Making inferences means you're using what you see, what you've read, what you know, to answer questions that you don't know the answer to, and that your book or whatever you're working with doesn't tell you the answer. Does this book tell us exactly what's happening in this picture? Does our book say anywhere exactly what's happening in this picture? No. Do we know, does the book tell us what's going to happen next? No. Do stories always necessarily tell us every single thing that we need to know? Do stories always necessarily tell us exactly what's going to happen next? No, but as we're reading, sometimes we can figure those things out. When you do that, you're making inferences. You're using what you've read or what you see and what you already know to come up with a brand new answer. So, in your head, I would like you to make some inferences. What is happening? What exactly is happening right here? Don't tell me they're playing baseball. What exactly is going on in this picture? What do you think? Victoria, please put your book on your desk.
I think what's happening is in baseball, you run to every single back and you get into the last back before it gets cut. The baseball gets out.
Very good. So he's trying to run, he's trying to get home before he gets tagged out. Good. What made you think that? Because when you make inferences, you have to be able to figure out what was it that made me think that answer. Even if your answer is right, you're only halfway there. Because you also have to realize, what is it that I'm thinking that's making me come to this answer? So Victoria, what about this picture made you think that what's going on is this boy is trying to get to home base before he gets tagged?
So when he gets around his desk everywhere and his little cleats rubbing his around, and this person over here, number 6 or 2, I think, the jersey or something,
Mm-hmm.
he has his glove and I think the baseball's inside it. He's about to touch him with it on the back.
Very good. That's a very thorough answer, but that's great. So Victoria said that she thinks that's happening because she can see where his cleats are, they're forward and there's dust around. So it looks like he was trying to get there quickly and he probably slid, which we know happens in baseball. Zari, make sure you keep yourself muted. So it looks like he just slid into home plate, which is something that people do in baseball or softball when they're trying to get to the base really, really fast.
Yep.
Ouch. I just jammed my finger. So this player, this boy, was trying to get there really fast before this catcher with his arm outstretched. Victoria noticed how his arm was outstretched with his glove, which probably means the baseball's inside of it. And he's trying to reach the kid, but the kid is sliding home. And it looks like maybe if you look right where 148 is, you can see like the white. You can see a lot of white.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know this because our book doesn't tell us, but I think that's probably home plate because there's a lot of white. I don't necessarily think it's the chalk, just because there's a lot of white altogether. So I think that might be home plate. And it looks like the catcher has not touched the boy yet. The boy has touched the catcher, but it looks like the catcher has not touched the boy. So what do you think? Do you think he made it home and he's safe? Or do you think he got tagged before he got home? Zadie?
I think he's safe.
Why do you think that? I agree, but why do you think that?
Because usually right before you get to one of the plates, you slide.
Mhm.
So right now, that player is on the ground.
Mhm.
So I think he's safe. And like you said, the catcher hasn't touched him yet.
Okay, good. Very good. So that's called making inferences. What we just did is called making inferences. So what do you think will happen next? We can't even use the picture to decide this. This has to totally come from what we already know. What do you think will happen next? Ethan,
I think
loudly. What do you think? You had an answer. You think maybe they're going to win the game? Maybe. Maybe that was the winning point. Very good. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn the page to page 150. We already talked about our vocabulary. So what we're going to do, as we read, we're going to be writing clues that lead us to what we think are the author's purpose. Are we just going to guess the author's purpose right away? No, we have to find clues. So remember your notes from this morning. Are there a lot of facts? If there's a lot of facts, what do you think the author's purpose was? If there's a lot of facts in this story, what was the author's purpose? Carla, try to remember from your notes. We talked about this.
Maybe because he tried to make us do it.
There's only 3 types of author's purpose: to inform, to entertain, or to persuade. If we talked about this morning, guys, it wasn't that long ago. If we find a lot of facts in this story, what do you think the author's purpose was? Was it to inform, to entertain, or to persuade? Zari. Inform. If there's a lot of exciting actions or a lot of humor, what do you think the author's purpose was? Zadie?
to entertain.
To entertain. If there's a lot of opinions and convincing going on, what do you think the author's purpose was? Smith?
Oh, I forgot the word.
Do you remember what it starts with?
No.
So there's 3 purposes. There's informing, entertaining, and persuading. Which one?
Persuading.
Persuading. Good. Remember, if we find a bunch of clues, if our clues are mostly that the author's telling us facts, then we can say that the author's purpose is to entertain. If the clues are a lot of exciting actions or funny things, or things that maybe couldn't happen in real life, then we know the author's purpose was probably to entertain. If we see a lot of opinions and a lot of convincing, a lot of telling us what we should do or what we should try, then we'll know that the author's purpose is to entertain. But let's go ahead and read, and let's see if we can figure it out. Ms. Folis, go ahead and read first. Okay. Make sure that you are following along. Kingston, don't play with that. Put it down or put it on. Women Pick Up the Ball by Jenny Hall. Lucy's class was at Cooperstown, site of the legendary Baseball Hall of Fame. Lucy wasn't thrilled to be there. Who cares about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League? Lucy muttered quietly to herself. Do we see anything yet that leads us, that is a clue to what the author's purpose is? Not really. There's nothing really that exciting. There's really no facts. There's really no opinion or anything like that. It's just kind of giving us the backstory. Where are we? What's the setting? Who are the characters? So, what is the setting? Usually we see the setting and the characters right away, or the main character. So what is the setting? Victoria? Louder.
Cooperstown of the legendary Baseball Hall of Fame.
So we're at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ooh, what is Baseball Hall of Fame? Look at that. What is that an example of? Baseball Hall of Fame. What is that an example of? Victoria? It's a proper noun. It's the name of this place, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Now, this is a real place. I think it's in Illinois, maybe, outside of Chicago. This is a real place, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, maybe Illinois, but I can't really remember. Who's the main character? Who do you think? We saw, usually in the first paragraph, we're introduced to the main character and the setting. Sometimes the problem. In this case, well, maybe there's a problem. Michaela, who's the main character? Lucy. So in this first paragraph, we figured out the setting. It's the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And the main character, Lucy. We kind of see a problem. Do we see a problem? Something that needs to be solved or something that's going on that may change? What's the problem so far? Zadie?
She doesn't want to be there.
Lucy doesn't want to be there. Let's see if her mind changes. But so far, we haven't found any clues that lead us to the author's purpose. We found the setting. We found the main character. We know a problem. Maybe not the main problem of the story, but a problem. So let's keep going, find some clues as to what the author's purpose is, and maybe see if there's a solution to this problem. Colin, go ahead and read next.
The leagues begin.
The leagues. Louder. The leagues.
The leagues begin. The guide explained that in 1942, most young men were being drafted to fight World War II. Some freed.
Not freed. Cover up the ED. Colin, you got to start doing this on your own. Cover up the ED. What is that word?
Free.
Look at the whole word. Don't just look at the letters. Look at the whole word. F-E-A-R. You're putting the R before the E-A. Is that where the R is? The R is at the end. Think about what E-A usually sounds like when it's together. What did the letters E-A usually sound like when they are together? What do the letters E-A usually sound like when they are right next to each other? Carla?
P.
I'm not asking, Carla, listen to my question, please. I'm not asking you what the word is. I'm asking you what the letters E-A usually say when they are right next to each other. What do the letters E-A, what do they sound like when they're right next to each other? Smith?
E.
E. That's something that almost always happens, so you have to remember that. So Colin, now knowing that the R comes at the end, if we cover up ED, the R comes at the end, and EA makes the E sound, what is that word?
Fear.
Fear. Now add the ED at the end.
Feared.
Feared. Zari, please mute yourself and please sit up. Mute yourself, please. Okay. Go ahead, read that sentence again.
Some feared that Mayor Lee.
Go slow, go slow. That's a J, not a Y.
Some freed the.
Colin, you just read it as freed again. Freed is F-R-E-E-D. This is F-E-A-R-E-D.
Some fared.
Colin, E-A makes the E sound. Go slow.
Some feared the.
You're just guessing. You're guessing letters. Do you see how that? You know these words, but you can't just guess you can't just look at the letters. You have to look at the whole word and think about what those letters say. So start again. Some feared, because what you're doing is when you're guessing at the words, it's very confusing because it's not making sense. So then that means your brain is trying to fix the rest of the words so that they make sense, but your brain is fixing the rest of the words based on an incorrect word. So then it just never works. So you have to make sure that you read the word correctly so that your brain doesn't try to make the words make sense based on a word that's not even what's there. Okay? So go slow.
Some feared that
You know this word. It's a J.
Major League
League. We read that word already.
baseball park would close. But Philip
It's the field you don't like. The field for the team you don't like.
But Philip
The W is silent.
Wrigley,
Wrigley.
the owner of the Chicago Cubs, decided to start a girls' league. Some may have
This was our vocabulary word. Remember what the E does to that G, to that A, I mean.
great
Not great. There's no R.
grafted
Colin, there's no R. And the E, remember what the E does to that A. An E at the end of a word, or before D in this case, because the D just makes it past tense, makes the vowel sound long. So it's not gapped, it's, because A is short A, but the E makes that A long.
Some may have gaped at the idea, but it soon caught on.
Good. So, do we have a clue yet? Think about what this author just wrote. Look at the words. Look at exactly what the sentences are saying. Do we have a clue about why the author may be writing this yet? Look at those words. Look at what the sentences are saying. What is this author using in that paragraph? Victoria. She. Jenny is a girl's name.
She is using facts.
So she's writing facts, specifically facts about what?
Like, as olden days.
Don't tell me, but about what? Don't tell me what the fact is. So,
About how men were, like,
is that the whole point? The author is writing facts about how what happened.
Philip Wrigley, the owner of the Chicago Cubs, decided to start a girls' league.
So the author is writing facts about how the league did what? Did they do anything yet, or did they just began? So the author is writing facts about how the league began. So if we stopped right here, we would say that the author's purpose is to do what? If we stopped right here, we would say the author's purpose is to do what? Somebody other than Victoria. If we stopped right here, we would say that the author's purpose was to do what? Zadie. Inform. But sometimes we may think that, but is that always necessarily true? Just however a story starts, is that always how it ends?
No.
So should we stop and just say, oh, it's to inform, I'm done? No, because that may change. There may be some facts there, but the rest of the story may be some opinions or convincing, which means it would be to persuade. Or the rest of the story could just have a lot of humor and exciting events, which would mean it's to entertain. We're just on the first paragraph, the second paragraph. We can't say yet what it's about. We have an idea, but without more information, we can't say 100% that's what it is. Okay, Smith, go ahead and read next. Loud and slow.
Lucy wondered what it was like for those girls. If people laughed in a mean way, did they notice the baseball fans snickering?
Good. So let's look at that sentence. If people laughed in a mean way, did they notice the baseball fans snickering? If we hadn't talked about what snickering meant, which words in that sentence would tell us what snickering could mean? If we used our context clues, that means we look at other words in the sentence to figure out what a word means. So, what words in that sentence, if people laughed in a mean way, did they notice the baseball fans snickering? Tells us what the word snickering means. Carla.
Laugh in a mean way.
Good. Laughed in a mean way. So if we had no idea what the word snickering meant, we could look at the rest of that sentence. If people laughed in a mean way, did they notice the baseball fans snickering? And laughed in a mean way would tell us, oh, that's what they mean by snickering. So sometimes when you're reading, actually a lot, you'll have to use your context clues. Otherwise, when you read, it's not going to make sense. If you don't know a word and you don't use your context clues, it's not going to make sense. And then if there's a question on it, on an AR test or another quiz or something, are you going to be able to answer it correctly? If you never looked at what that word meant? No. Or you never tried to figure out what that word meant? No. So it's important to use context clues. If the context clues don't help you figure out what a word means, what should you use? Victoria? A dictionary. Not the spelling dictionary, because does the speller's dictionary tell you what the word means?
No.
No, but a regular dictionary. Okay, thank you, Smith. Go ahead and read next. Zadie. This is short, so we're going to let everybody read just one paragraph. And then if we have to, we'll go back around.
Do you want me to read the...
No, you don't have to read. It's just the caption. It's showing a woman baseball player making a leaping catch.
The league succeeds. Girls as young as 15 tried out for the league. The $45 to the $85 a week salaries were a big draw.
Salaries.
Salaries were a big draw. That might seem like an insult today, but back when it was a lot of money.
So, why would they say that $45 to $85 a week is an insult today? Why would they say that? Why would they say that $45 to $85 a week is an insult today? If you're thinking about it, you know what the word insult means. Please sit up. Please sit up. Zari, please mute yourself. Carla, don't worry about Zari's screen. Please just worry about you. Why would they say that $45 to $85 a week would be an insult today? Okay, you guys have got to think. Don't just stare at my face. You are coming up with the answer, not me. What is an insult? Kingston. I can't hear you.
An insult is a remark or a comment that makes someone feel bad.
It's something that would make someone feel bad. You should all know that because that was one of our vocabulary words. Thank you, Zadie. I know that you know the answer, but we've got to get more people participating than just 2 because there's 11 or 10 people in this class, not just 2. Thank you to you guys for participating, but we need more people participating. You all have the capability of answering these questions. So Kingston just told us an insult is something that hurts somebody's feelings or their pride. Why would earning $45 to $85 be an insult to people today? Carla?
Maybe because if they doing 45 to 55 a week, they're trying to get they're spending their money on something, and that will be sad.
Not quite what I'm looking for, but okay. Why would $45 to $85 a week, that's all you earn, be an insult to people now? Please make sure that you're paying attention, not looking at other things, making it seem like you're in the middle of something. You can't answer the question. You all have the capability of answering this question. Don't try to look off in the distance and be like, all innocently, like, I know the answer, that's not how we do this. Zadie.
Because back then it was a lot of money, and today it's not really that much.
No. Good. Finally. Was that really that hard to think of?
No.
No. Is $45 a lot of money to adults? No, not at all. Think about when you go to the grocery store with your parents. It probably costs more than $85 just for one trip, unless they're only buying like 2 things. But when they're buying food for the week, it costs more than that just for the groceries. A lot more than that if you have a family. So that's not a lot of money today. So it would be an insult. If somebody offered you $45 to $85 a week for a job, you'd be like, absolutely not. I can go and get the easiest job in the world and make more money than that. So it would be an insult today. You'd be like, how dare you think that I'm only worth that much money? But back then, it was a lot of money. Thank you, Zadie. Please, you need to think. Michaela, read the next paragraph. Loud and slow.
Players had to follow strict rules of behaviors and take classes. They were taught how to dress, act, and take care of themselves.
Good. So not only did they have to play baseball well, they had to look good and act well, too. Okay, thank you, Michaela. Read next. Ethan.
The success of the league was no fluke. During the war, many women worked.
Women. That's the word women. If it has an E at the end, it's plural, so it's women instead of woman.
Women worked in factories. This changed the image of what women did.
Good. So, let's look at what that section says. The league succeeds. We have another clue as to the author's purpose. What is that next clue that we see in the section, the league succeeds? What is the author telling us? She's giving us lots of what? Is it opinions, actions, humor, or facts? Some of you just wait for everybody else to answer the questions, and that's not going to help you. Smith.
The author is giving facts.
Facts about what? In this section, she is giving us factors about what? So at first, she was giving us facts about how the league began. Now she's giving us facts about what?
About how much money that the players get.
Is that the only fact that she gave us? So here in this first clue, we have facts about how the league began. Is that a specific fact? Or is that just what all the facts were telling us in that first piece?
What all the facts were telling us.
So, you need to figure out how can you come up with a sentence that tells us what the facts are telling us about without using a fact in that sentence. So the author is writing facts about what? Don't give me an example of the facts by saying, oh, how much they earned. But if we put all those together, what is the main idea of those facts? Remember, a main idea cannot be a supporting detail. Carla.
Girl, as long
Okay, Carla, you're about to tell me an actual fact. I'm not looking for an actual fact. I'm looking for what is the main idea of those facts.
the main idea is they're trying to get girls to be in the league.
That's not the main idea. They've already got the girls by the time we get to this. The girls are already in the league, so that's not the main idea. Victoria.
It's talking about how the girls act and what they do and the images.
Good. So it's giving facts about the girls in the league. So Victoria said it's giving facts about the girls and what they do. Well, that's the main idea. We don't have a specific example because that would be a supporting detail. We're just looking more for the main idea of that section. The author is writing facts about the girls in the league. Okay. Read next. Victoria. Loud and slow. Use your finger to follow along so you don't switch up lines or skip lines or anything.
The league ends. After the war ended, interest lessened,
Mm-hmm.
and the league fell apart. One reason was that many people got TVs in the early 1950s. They could watch Major League games without buying a ticket or leaving the house.
Very good. So the author is also giving us facts there. So we already know. Our first two clues were about facts. We already know what the author's purpose was, but we still have to figure out one more clue to say 100%, yep, that's what it is. So in the paragraph Victoria just read, we have some more facts. What facts? What's the main idea of the facts in the paragraph that Victoria just read? Kingston. So the author is writing facts about what? Louder, please.
People got TVs.
You're giving me an exact example. I'm looking for the main idea of those. You're telling me that's the fact that it says they got TVs. That would be a supporting detail, not the main idea. Remember, the main idea is not always written word for word. Usually, typically, the main idea is something that we have to make inferences about. We have to figure out, okay, this is what it's saying. Well, the main idea isn't listed as a sentence, so I have to think of what the main idea is. So the author is writing facts about what? Not TVs, not watching TV, not buying tickets, but what? Those are all supporting details that support the idea that the author is writing facts about. Zadie.
How the league ends.
How the league ended. The author is writing facts about how the league ended. Good. Does it say in that sentence, the author is writing facts about how the league ended? Or, here are some facts about how the league ended. So that is called, you made inferences to figure out that main idea. The main idea of that paragraph is that, well, the league ended. The supporting details are people got TVs. They could watch it on TV without having to pay. So, very good. Go ahead and read that last paragraph, and then all together, oops, that's Aaron, and then all together, we will come up with the author's purpose. Carla.
Time to lucky.
Not lucky.
When
That's a soft C. So it sounds like
Fletch.
loose. Carla, read the words. That's not lucky. Lucky is L-U-C-K-Y. That's a soft C. It's the name of our main character, Lucy.
Lucy.
Cover up the ED. And that's our vocabulary word. What is that word? What, Carla?
Flint.
Don't forget the CH at the end, though. Flinched.
Flinch.
Now add the D sound to the end, and you get Lucy
Lucy. Flint.
flinched.
Flinch.
Not flinched did. Guys, make sure that you're not saying an extra D sound. It's just flinched. Sometimes, usually we have to add an ED, but we don't say that E most of the time. So it's just flinched. So, Carla, start that sentence again.
Lucy. Flinch. When her teacher called the class together. She wasn't ready to leave. She wanted to learn more, but
Not lucky.
Lucy would have to wait until her next visit to learn more about interesting time in the baseball history.
Good. So, first of all, was our problem solved? That problem from the beginning of the story. What was the problem from the beginning of the story? Cullen?
Lucy didn't want to be in the baseball league.
Not in the league. Was she in the league? Did it ever say she didn't want to be in the baseball league? Or that she was in the baseball league? Is this story about somebody wanting to be in the baseball league? So what was the problem at the beginning of the story? Not that she wanted to be in the baseball league or didn't. The baseball league, this women's baseball league ended in the 50s. So there's nothing, hands down, there's nothing in this story about somebody wanting or not wanting to be in the baseball league. What was the problem at the beginning of the story? Carla.
Lucy didn't want to be at the legendary Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay, good. But just everybody know, legendary is not part of the name. How can we look at that Legendary Baseball Hall of Fame and know that legendary is not part of the name of the place? How can we look at those words, Legendary Baseball Hall of Fame, and know that legendary is not part of the name of that place? Smith?
Because Baseball Hall of Fame is capitalized and legendary is not.
Very good. Legendary is not capitalized, so it can't be part of the name. It's just a describing word, an adjective to describe the Baseball Hall of Fame. So yes, Carla, you are correct. The problem is that Lucy doesn't want to be at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Not that she doesn't want to be in the baseball league. She has no choice. She can't be in the baseball league because it's 2020 and it ended in the 50s. But was that problem solved in the end? Did she still have that problem at the end of this story? Zari,
No.
how do we know? How do we know that she no longer had that problem, Zari?
I'm trying to look for the text evidence.
Okay, it's right there. We just read it not that long ago, so you should be able to remember that last paragraph.
She wanted to learn more, but Lucy would have to wait until her next visit to learn more about the interesting times in baseball history.
Okay, so that's the text evidence, but that doesn't tell me the answer. That's just the evidence that leads me to the answer. So, Zari, does she still have that same problem at the end of the story, Zari? Yes or no?
No.
No, because that's our text evidence, but what we can make inferences about based on that evidence is that now she doesn't want to leave. It says we know that problem has been solved because now she doesn't want to leave. At first, she couldn't wait to leave. She didn't want to be there. By the end, she's excited. She wants to stay. She wants to come back. So now let's take all of our clues, and based on what we read, what is the author's purpose? What is the author's purpose of this story? Zadie.
To inform.
About what?
To inform us about the history of women's baseball.
Good. Specifically the what? What is it called? Does it say the actual name? Yep. So the author's purpose is to inform us about, yes, women's baseball, the history of women's baseball, but specifically what part of the history of women's baseball? Michaela?
Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame? Is this all about the Baseball Hall of Fame? Is this giving us all facts about the Baseball Hall of Fame? Like where it is, who's in it, what's in it, all of that? No. But this is all about one part of what's in the Baseball Hall of Fame and one part of the history of baseball, specifically women's history. Which part? What is the specific name? Girls at home, please make sure that you're paying attention. Victoria.
The league.
What?
The league.
What league?
The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
Good. The purpose, the author's purpose is to inform us about the All-American Girls, I might have that in the wrong order. Yep, Girls Professional Baseball League. Ooh, some of you are real good at making inferences, and that's probably why you have so many AR points. Some of you need to work on it. You can do it. You can all do it, though. You just have to practice. Some people just practice more. So if you are one of those people who's not necessarily practicing, start practicing. All it is asking yourself questions and then answering those questions. Not just asking the questions, but also answering them. Like what Miss Miller's been trying to teach you in library. The more you practice, the better you get at it. Okay, what's the official name of this league? What is the full official name of this league? Kingston. This league that this story is about. What is the full official name?
The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
How do you know? How do you know that All-American Girls Professional Baseball League is the official name? Not just like Legendary Baseball Hall of Fame, where legendary is just a describing word to describe the main place, Baseball Hall of Fame. How do you know? Just by looking at those words. Well, it's in the book, but so is Legendary Baseball Hall of Fame. But we know Legendary is not part of the official name. How do we know All-American Girls Professional Baseball League is the official name of this league? It's the same reason that we knew that Legendary wasn't part of the name of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Can somebody help him out? How do we know All-American Girls Professional Baseball League is the official name of the league? There's no describing words. It's just the official name. How do we know? Just by looking at it. Smith?
Because all the words in that name, all of them start with a capital letter.
Good. Which means that's the official name. Official names of things are also called what? Kingston? The official names of things are what? Proper nouns. Proper nouns are always what? Michaela?
Capital letter.
Capitalized. Okay, so let's see. So right now we're looking at the front. We're looking at the front of the homework, page 38. This is the vocabulary side. The vocabulary side is going to be the front. Okay, girls, make sure that you are looking at it. I know what it looks like, so make sure that you are looking at it. The top, numbers 1 through 7, say choose the correct word from the box to complete each sentence. After you write the word, please read the sentence to yourself, because some of you are just putting in random words and it makes no sense. And if you had reread the sentence to yourself, it would have made sense. You would have been like, whoa, that makes no sense at all. I better go change that. Anytime you have problems where you have to fill in the blank, always go back and read the sentence to yourself to make sure it makes sense. Numbers 8 through 10, you're just using 3 of the words from the word bank, any 3, to write a sentence of your own. You need 1 sentence per line. Make sure that you use the word in the correct way. Like if it's a noun, don't try to make it into a verb, because that doesn't work. Or if it's a verb, don't try to use it as a thing, because that's not going to work. Make sure that you're using the words correctly. It's a verb. If it's a verb, it should be an action. If it's a noun, it should be like the subject of the sentence. If it's an adjective, it should be describing something. Make sure that you use the words correctly, otherwise you will lose points. Don't forget capitals and end punctuation. Some of you are losing so many points. You would have hundreds, but you're missing so many end punctuation and so many periods that it's turning your grades into like B's or even C's. Also, if you make a compound sentence, 2 independent clauses separated by and, but, or, make sure you have your comma. Do not use a connecting word first, because you guys are not using them correctly and you don't have to, so don't do it. Don't use because, when, after, whatever first. If you do use it and you're using it to separate a dependent clause and an independent clause, if the independent clause comes first, do not put a comma. Okay, then look at the back. Make sure you read this box at the top to help you. You have 2 passages, so 2 little paragraphs, and then 2 questions about each. The first question, you're going to read the passage, and then the first question for each one says, what was the author's purpose in writing this passage? Was it to inform? Was it to entertain? Was it to persuade? Then number 2 for each one, what helped you decide on the author's purpose? So, did it give lots of facts about something? Be specific. It gave lots of facts about blank. Did it give us opinion? It tried to convince me that blank, which means it was to persuade. If it's to entertain, you can say, it was funny when it said this, or it used a lot of action like this. So be detailed, be specific, use text evidence. You only have 3 choices. For number 1 and number 3, there's only 3 choices. Was it to inform? Was it to persuade? Was it to entertain? Then numbers 2 and 4, what did the paragraph say that led you to that answer? Be detailed, be specific. Don't just say it gave me facts. You'll lose a point. Say it gave me facts about blank. Don't just say it gave me opinions. You'll lose points. Or it tried to convince me. You'll lose points. Say it gave me opinions about blank. Or it tried to convince me that blank. That I should do this, or I should try that, or I should think this. If it's to entertain, don't say it was funny. Or there was action. Give me examples. Give me specific examples, as many as you can fit. Write incomplete sentences. Everybody with your pencil right now. Right above, read the passages and answer the questions. Right here in this space between this box and this direction. Write the sentence. Write in complete sentences for number 2 and 4. Because number 1 and 3, all you have to do is write the word. Is it inform, entertain, persuade? But numbers 2 and 4, you need to write incomplete sentences. So I'm coming around to check to make sure that everybody is writing that direction in the correct place. And once I approve it, you can put it away. and then get out your social studies stuff.